You know that feeling? You're juggling absolutely everything. You're exhausted and you think, if I just had a manager, this would all be sorted. The diary would run itself, the team would be managed, and you'd finally get your life back. So what do? You hire one. And within weeks, you realize, well, nothing's changed because a manager doesn't fix a broken business, guys. They run only a working one. If the systems aren't in place and they have nothing to follow, all you've done is hand someone all of your mess, unless you're willing to pay for a full operations manager, which is a very different story and a lot more money. And on the flip side, you're holding on, doing everything yourself, telling yourself you're not ready until you're so damn burnt out, you can barely function. Both of those are expensive mistakes, and both are completely avoidable if you know what you're looking for. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Nurse Sarah Louise, the founder of The Business Injection. I've been in the industry for 15 years. I'm an aesthetic nurse prescriber, I'm a clinic owner for 9 years, and I built my clinic from a back garden room with a £10,000 personal loan with no investors, no business background. I was a single mum and going through a divorce. And guess what? I made both of those mistakes. So this isn't theory, this is real life experiences. And how do I know all of this? Because I've been in both of those exact positions over my 15 years in aesthetics, building brands from the ground up. The owners who get this right don't hire to escape. They hire to multiply and scale something, well, that already works. I've been inside hundreds of UK aesthetic clinics. The teams, the structures, the wage bills, the organizational charts, different cities, different sizes, different setups, same two mistakes every single time. So this video is not about whether you can afford it. It's about whether finding the right person and not about handing over control just to say you have a manager. It's actually about timing, knowing exactly when you're ready and when you're not ready. By the end, you'll know the 4 indicators that tell you you're actually ready, the numbers that make this decision right or reckless, and the mishire that costs owners thousands, and how to avoid that as well. This is something we often don't talk about because we treat hiring often as a flex and not a strategic decision. Early on in my business, I clung on way too long before making the decisions that were necessary. I was the injector, the receptionist, the marketer, the cleaner, even more. But I told myself nobody could do it like me until, well, there's no more of me, right? So then I made my first hire. I brought someone in to manage before I had anything for them to actually manage. I simply handed over a shit show and expected someone to work their magic. And honestly, guys, it was a complete disaster. Reflecting back, both of those decisions cost me a lot. So let me save you both time and money. Now, these are the 4 indicators you need to have in place. And when you've got these, then you're ready. Let's look at indicator 1. Everything still roots through you. So let's talk about this. I mean, does every decision wait for you? Meaning the team can't move on without anything or checking in or getting authorized? Or when you step away for a while, does your phone just continuously go off? These are the clearest and most basic signs you've outgrown being the only point of contact and control. Let's paint the picture a little bit. It's a Tuesday. You're mid-treatment and your phone's buzzing on the side bench. Your reception has a question because maybe the supply is chasing an order and someone doesn't know how to handle a refund. Now, in your opinion, it could be handled, but none of this is happening without you. This is a business with a single point of failure, and that single point of failure is always going to come back to you. And sadly, guys, it works beautifully right up until the day it doesn't. Let's do a little exercise around indicator 1, a little self-check. Think about the last time you stepped away from the clinic, even literally for a day. How many times did your phone go off? What decisions were being held back until you got back? And write 3 things that cannot happen in your business without you answering them first. And now if you filled all 3 of those, you've met the first indicator, and that's a green flag, meaning it's time to get a manager. Let's look at indicator 2. You're doing 2 full-time jobs. Now you're the clinician and you're the person running the business, and you constantly feel there aren't enough hours in a day. Does something always give? Maybe treatments feel rushed because you're answering staff's questions between clients. Maybe are you doing orders in between or managing the team in between appointments? Or does your marketing slide because when you're doing the overarching kind of operations, or maybe you're so buried working in it that you actually never get to work on your company. Guys, when you're being this stretched, it really does start showing up in the quality of everything you touch. And take the answers to these questions as a warning, because this you can't wear as a badge of honor like I once did back in the day. Let's look at exercise 2, the 2-job audit. Write out everything you did last week. And this might be hard, so you can actually do this as you go. Split them into 2 columns. You're going to have your operational tasks and you're going to have your clinical tasks. Now work out which column is longer. And then you need to work out which column may be suffering, which that one could actually have a little bit more workload in. And which one do you actually want to be doing? Because this all matters. Let's look at indicator 3. There's enough content to manage. Let's look at what a manager actually does. Now, they manage typically people and operations. If it's just you and one part-time injector, you actually don't need a manager right now. Instead, you primarily need systems. This is when technically you could hire a manager. Remember, you don't want to hire a manager to run a business that isn't big enough to need managing. That's really not effective leadership. And that's just paying for an expensive title that systems will usually take care of. Guys, just for context, SLA, we had no manager for 3 years when I relocated to Dubai. And this was due to systems because they were so readily in place and so effective, I actually didn't need someone to manage the team at that point. So let's do a little exercise. Do you actually have enough to manage right now? And we need to answer this really honestly. How many team members do you have, including part-timers? How many treatment rooms are running on a typical day and how busy are they? And do you have a predictable flow of most days in the week? Are there real moving parts that need coordinating daily? Rotas, teams, suppliers, follow-ups, orders that really could be delegated. And that's a really important one. If you answered yes to the last 2 and have 3 or plus team members, you really now have something to manage. If not, I would really encourage you to build volume first. The last indicator, number 4, the benefit versus risk. My favorite exercise in anything I do in business, even in my personal life decision making. Now, this is when hiring turns from a nice idea into an obvious strategic decision. So let's evaluate the cost of not hiring a manager and how that could be affecting you long term. Ask yourself, are you losing clients because nobody's following them up? Are you losing good staff because there's no real leadership for them to follow or be managed? Do you lose evenings, weekends, or sacrifice even your health? These are really simple exercises, and there are plenty more. But when this is actively costing you in money, time, and your own well-being, a manager stops being an expense and they start being a really good investment. And ironically, it actually becomes the cheaper option. So let's do another little exercise. The cost of not hiring a manager. Again, be honest here. We need to write all of the factual answers. In the last 3 months, have you lost clients who didn't rebook because nobody was there to chase them or do that role? Have you lost maybe a good team member because there was no one leading properly and to ensure that they were motivated? Or have you lost revenue because maybe you were too busy to take on more? Or have you lost personal time, sleep, or even your health being affected because you couldn't switch off? Now, every yes is a cost. Add them up. That's what not hiring is actually costing you. So everyone's fear about hiring a manager is really the numbers. So let's have a look and let's consider those numbers. A lot of people believe a manager is a pure cost, unlike a new injector who makes the clinic money. Although they don't typically pay for themselves in obvious cash into the company, managers, they're an investment that will save you money in the longer vision. So the core question is not, will this person generate their own salary in treatments, but can my existing profit comfortably absorb their salary and still leave the business healthy? Would hiring a manager put you financially under the moment you acquire it? That means you're not ready yet because you'd be hiring on hope. And this exact decision at this exact moment, I've seen very successful clinics plummet backwards. And here's where it gets really good, because once you have the right person in place, this is what starts to happen. You now have the headspace to actually grow, to see more clients, to do more treatments, to finally have the capacity to take on what you've been turning away. Not just that, the clients that were falling through all of those cracks, the ones not being followed up, the ones not being rebooked, the ones that just literally disappeared, someone can now own that job. Plus, now your team, well, they have a real leader, which means better performance, less drama, and less of it landing in your lap every single day. The great thing is your brand standards are now being maintained without you needing to physically even be there and micromanage them. And finally, you get to step into the role you're actually supposed to be in, working on your business instead of always being swallowed up by it. But, and this is really important, guys, all of that is the upside, not the foundation. You need to be in a position where you can carry the salary comfortably before any of that growth happens. So ask yourself, if nothing changed, if the manager created zero growth in month 1, could you still pay them without panicking? And if the answer is yes, then you're ready. If the answer is only yes, but only when we really have a good month, you're not there yet, and that's okay. But know that now before you commit to someone's livelihood. Now, what do we have to do before we hire someone? Step 1, we definitely need to have processes and protocols in place. In the BI mentorship, this is the first and most critical exercise to expand your business. You could not hand over a role that only exists inside your head. Write down the systems, the standards, and the numbers you expect to see. The risk of not having expectations clear is the manager will invent their own. And I can promise you guys, you won't like them. Step 2, define the role by outcomes and expectations. Not, come over here and help me cope. That is not a job description. What are you truly accountable for? What does good look like at maybe 30, 60, or 90 days? What are they working towards? Decide this before you post the job. Step 3, know what job roles you're delegating first. Obviously, operations and admin oversight are going to be there first with team management. And the brand and clinical standards always has to be there. Delegate the running of the business and overarching the team, but always keep the vision in sight. So what can realistic expectations actually look like? Let's face it, a good manager does not transform everything in a week. There's a settling in period where honestly, it can feel a lot slower for a while. Even me, I've had this to be their entire probation period over 3 months. While they're learning your business, your clients, your standards, be aware that you need to put deadlines on things or they'll be forever in learning phase. And be prepared to learn and let go, which I know is so hard, but it's necessary for delegation and if you want to grow. I mean, Steve Jobs never controlled A to Z at Apple, did he? And remember, a manager will not fix a broken business. They can only run a working one. The benefit versus risk, you need to calculate. If you don't make that hire, the numbers have to work from existing profit and not hope. If you hire a leader, you need to build the systems before you ever hand them over. And remember, getting the timing right. It's the hire that gives you your business and your life back. And guys, if you get it wrong, it's an expensive lesson to learn. If this video gave you some clarity, hit like because it genuinely helps these reach more owners who are drowning in the day-to-day. Subscribe to my channel for more free value on operating, scaling, and growing an aesthetics clinic. I'm Nurse Sarah Louise, this is The Business Injection, and see you in the next one.